She was the last pharaoh of Egypt, a queen whose name has echoed through 2,000 years of history. To the Romans, she was a dangerous seductress who threatened to bring their republic to its knees. To her own people, she was a living goddess, the daughter of the sun. But behind the legend was a woman of extraordinary intelligence, a ruler who spoke 9 languages, studied science and philosophy, and outmaneuvered the most powerful men in the world. She inherited a dying kingdom, caught in the shadow of a rising Rome, and she gambled everything to save it. Her story is one of ambition, love, and war on a scale the world had rarely seen. This is the story of Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, a woman who was so much more than the myth, and whose dramatic life and death would mark the end of an ancient world. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC in Alexandria, the dazzling capital of Egypt and the greatest city of the ancient world. Its harbor was crowned by a towering lighthouse, one of the wonders of the world, and its famous library held the knowledge of 1,000 years. But Cleopatra was not in fact Egyptian by blood. She belonged to the Ptolemies, a Greek dynasty descended from a general of Alexander the Great, who had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years. It was a family notorious for its ruthlessness, where brothers married sisters and murder was a common path to the throne. Yet the young Cleopatra stood apart. She was brilliant and endlessly curious, and unlike the rulers before her, she troubled to learn the language of the Egyptian people themselves. From childhood, she was being shaped into something her ancestors never were, a true queen of Egypt. When her father died, the throne passed jointly to the 18-year-old Cleopatra and her younger brother, whom, following custom, she was expected to marry and rule beside. But the two siblings despised one another, and their court quickly split into rival factions. Cleopatra was ambitious and strong-willed, determined to rule in her own right, and her brother's powerful advisors saw her as a threat. Before long, they drove her from the palace and out of Alexandria altogether. Exiled and in danger, Cleopatra did not simply surrender her crown. Instead, she fled to the deserts of the east and began to raise an army of her own, preparing to fight her way back to the throne. She was still barely more than a girl, but already she showed the iron will that would define her. Cleopatra had no intention of losing her kingdom without a fight. Into this civil war stepped the most powerful man in the world, Julius Caesar, the Roman general who had come to Egypt in pursuit of his rivals. Whoever won Caesar's favor would win the throne. Cleopatra knew she had to reach him first, but the palace was held by her brother's men. So, according to legend, she had herself smuggled past the guards and delivered into Caesar's presence, hidden inside a rolled-up carpet or a bag of bedding. When she emerged, the young queen dazzled the aging Roman with her wit, her charm, and her fearless intelligence. Caesar was captivated. He threw the weight of Rome behind her, and in the war that followed, her brother was defeated and drowned in the Nile. Cleopatra was restored to her throne, now backed by the might of Rome itself. And she and Caesar had become far more than allies. They had become lovers. Secure on her throne, Cleopatra bore Caesar a son and traveled to Rome, where she lived as his guest, showered with honors. But her position depended entirely on Caesar, and in 44 BC, that world came crashing down. Caesar was assassinated, stabbed to death by senators on the Senate floor. Suddenly, Cleopatra was alone again, a foreign queen with a murdered protector and a young son, in a world thrown into chaos. She fled back to Egypt to secure her power, ruling with remarkable skill and presenting herself to her people as the goddess Isis in living form. She was no mere pawn of Rome, but a shrewd and capable monarch. Yet Rome's long shadow had not lifted. Soon another Roman would enter her life and change her destiny forever. After Caesar's death, one of the leading men of Rome was the bold general Mark Antony. He summoned Cleopatra to answer for her actions during the chaos, expecting a nervous subject. Instead, she arrived in staggering splendor, sailing to meet him on a golden barge with purple sails and silver oars, dressed as the goddess of love herself. Antony was overwhelmed. What began as a summons became one of the most famous love affairs in history. He followed her to Alexandria, and the two became inseparable as lovers and allies. Together they dreamed of a great empire in the east, but their union would set Cleopatra on a collision course with her deadliest enemy. Antony's rival was Octavian, the young and ruthless heir of Julius Caesar. As Antony grew closer to Cleopatra, giving Roman lands to her and their children, Octavian saw his chance. He launched a brilliant propaganda war, painting Antony as a traitor, bewitched by a scheming foreign queen. Rome declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. The two sides met in 31 BC at a great sea battle off the coast of Greece, the Battle of Actium, a struggle for the entire Roman world. But the battle went badly. In the chaos, their fleet was broken, and they fled back to Egypt with their forces shattered. The dream of an Eastern empire was collapsing, and Octavian now turned his armies toward Alexandria, and the final reckoning. Back in Egypt, Cleopatra and Antony prepared for the end, but their cause was hopeless. In the summer of 30 BC, Octavian and his legions reached Alexandria, and Antony's remaining forces melted away without a fight. Believing a false report that Cleopatra was already dead, Antony fell upon his own sword. According to the ancient accounts, he was carried, dying, to Cleopatra and passed away in her arms. Now the queen was truly alone, her lover gone, her armies destroyed, her city in enemy hands. Octavian took her prisoner in her own palace. He wanted her alive for a cruel reason, to parade the great Cleopatra through the streets of Rome in chains. But Cleopatra would never allow it. Held captive and stripped of her kingdom, Cleopatra made one final, defiant choice. She would die a queen, on her own terms, rather than live as a Roman trophy. She arranged her death with the same care she had shown in life. Dressed in her finest royal robes, with her crown upon her head, she took her own life inside her palace. According to the most famous legend, she had a venomous snake, an asp, smuggled to her, hidden in a basket of figs, and let it deliver the fatal bite. When Octavian's men rushed into the chamber, they found her already dead, laid out in perfect royal splendor, with her two faithful handmaidens dying beside her. She was 39 years old. In her final act, Cleopatra had denied her conqueror his greatest prize, and had chosen the manner of her own ending. Even in death, the last pharaoh had refused to be defeated. With Cleopatra's death, an entire world came to an end. Egypt, ruled by pharaohs for 3,000 years, was swallowed up by Rome, becoming just another province of the empire. Cleopatra was the very last pharaoh, and after her, that ancient line was gone forever. Octavian returned to Rome in triumph, and soon transformed himself into Augustus, the first Roman emperor. In a sense, Cleopatra's defeat helped give birth to the Roman Empire itself. Her enemies wrote her story, casting her as a wicked temptress. But history has remembered something greater, a woman of dazzling intellect and courage, who ruled a kingdom, challenged an empire, and refused to bow. 2,000 years later, the last queen of Egypt still fascinates the world, a symbol of power, passion, and the end of an ancient age. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, who challenged an empire and chose to die a queen.